When you're creating your Kineticist, you can choose whatever background you want from whatever source book you want. However, Rage of Elements does provide some backgrounds, and they're pretty cool. I'd like to kind of go over those and give you an overview of what ones might be worth taking, or at least give you some information so you can make that decision. My name is Don. I'm trying to be the Sly Strategist, and let's go ahead and get into it. With Rage of Elements, you get basically 6 common backgrounds, 2 uncommon backgrounds, and 2 rare backgrounds. They're all really good, and they all do provide you with unique backgrounds for your character. Let's go ahead and start with the common backgrounds. So the first common background is going to be the alloy smith background. And basically, you've studied the properties of different metals, experimented and combined them while exposing them to different elements and processes, and have even delved into the metaphysical nature of metal. With this, you get to choose 2 attribute boosts. One must be to strength or intelligence, and one is a free attribute boost. You get trained in the crafting skill and the plane of metal lore skill, and you also gain the specialty crafting skill feat with the blacksmithing specialty. So this is pretty much tailor-made to a plane of metal kineticist. The next one is a crystal healer background. So basically, you've studied mineral formations, and to you, they are also potent natural healing aids. And it kind of gives you a background where you might have taken up adventuring in order to prove yourself by healing the ailing or find new crystals in order to add to your collection. With this, you get to choose 2 attribute boosts. One must be to wisdom or charisma, and one is a free attribute boost. You're trained in the nature skill and the plane of earth lore skill, and you gain the natural medicine skill feat. This is kind of an interesting skill feat. You can use nature instead of medicine to treat wounds, and you get a +2 circumstance bonus if you're in the wilderness and you have access to fresh ingredients, and this is all under GM discretion. The next common background is going to be a deep sea diver background. So you're basically obsessed with the ocean depth and all forms of water. Every single one of them. You get to choose 2 attribute boosts. One must be to strength or wisdom, and one is a free attribute boost. You're trained in the athletics skill and the plane of water lore skill. You also gain the underwater marauder skill feat. And this one is interesting because you are not flat-footed or off guard in the remaster when fighting underwater, and there are no penalties for bludgeoning or slashing while fighting in the water. The next one is the dendrologist background, and basically you've studied trees and forests, and you will study them wherever you go, even if it's to the plane of wood itself. You get to choose 2 attribute boosts. One must be to intelligence or wisdom, and one is a free attribute boost. You're training the survival skill and the plane of wood lore skill. You also gain terrain expertise skill feat for forests, and this is a +1 circumstance bonus to survival checks. For you, it would be in a forest. Next is going to be the fire warden background. You have a background in firefighting and dealing with crisis while dealing with fire, and you've studied the nature and source of fire itself to try and better learn how to fight it. You get to choose 2 attribute boosts. One must be to strength or constitution, and one is a free attribute boost. You're trained in the athletics skill and the plane of fire lore skill, and you gain the breath control feat. Now with this, you can hold your breath for 20 times as long as usual before suffocating. You also gain a +1 circumstance bonus to saving throws against inhaled threats, such as inhaled poisons. If you roll a success on such saving throws, you get a critical success instead. And then there's the Skyrider background. So you are obsessed with flight and have studied birds and have sought out mechanical means to fly. And one of the things they said for your background is you might have kind of used adventuring as a way to finance this. So you get to choose 2 attribute boosts. One must be to dexterity or wisdom, and one is a free attribute boost. You're trained in the acrobatics skill and the plane of air lore skill. You also gain the catfall skill feat. Once again, this one's interesting because it treats falls as 10 feet shorter. If you're an expert in acrobatics, you treat falls as 25 feet shorter. If you're a master in acrobatics, treat it as 50 feet shorter. And if you're legendary in acrobatics, pretty cool, you always land on your feet and don't take damage regardless of the distance of the fall. Next, we get to the uncommon backgrounds. The Concordance Researcher background. It does have the uncommon trait. So you are tasked by the concordance of elements to research a variety of enigmatic planar phenomena. And you've basically acquired a bunch of really specific knowledge and some skills about planes and their interactions that occur between all the planes. Since you do go out in the field and research unstable planar situations, it's not always a peaceful profession. So you get to choose 2 attribute boosts. One must be to intelligence or wisdom, and one is a free attribute boost. So you are trained in 4 of the following: plane of air lore, plane of earth lore, plane of fire lore, plane of metal lore, plane of water lore, or plane of wood lore. You get to choose 4. There's no additional skill feat that you get to pick. However, because of your studies in the intersecting planes, you get to learn quite a few lores. The next uncommon is the Concordance Scout background, and it also has the uncommon trait. So basically, you're hired by the Concordance of Elements to seek out rumors of planar breaches or any other imbalances that are occurring within the planes. You'd report back to the Concordance, and then they would send agents basically to handle those situations for you. You do get into trouble quite a bit, and you've learned how to get this information quickly and how to get out of those situations once you've gathered it. So you get to choose 2 attribute boosts. One must be to Constitution or Charisma, and one is a free attribute boost. You're trained in the diplomacy skill and one of the following lore skills: plane of air lore, plane of earth lore, plane of fire lore, plane of metal lore, plane of water lore, or plane of wood lore, and you gain the Hobnobber skill feat. Now we get into the rare backgrounds, and these rare backgrounds definitely should be rare. However, they aren't rare as in they could only be done in certain adventure paths or anything along those lines. It would just make you a very unique creature in whatever world you're in. The first one I'm going to cover is the elementally infused background, and it does have the rare trait. So I'll read this directly from the book so it's kind of easy to understand. You were exposed to a strong burst of elemental essence originating directly from an elemental plane, most likely caused by a planar breach. Your body absorbed the elemental essences with no ill effects, and now it coalesces within you. With time, you've learned to project elemental power in a manner safe to you, but still deadly to others. So with this one, you've basically taken a piece of the plane and put it inside yourself. You get to choose 2 attribute boosts. One must be to Constitution or Charisma, and one is a free attribute boost. You get to choose 1 elemental plane: air, earth, fire, metal, water, or wood, and you're trained in the corresponding lore skill for each one of those planes. You also gain a cantrip according to your chosen plane. For air, you'd get Gale Blast. For earth, you get Scatter Scree. For fire, you get Ignition. For metal, you get Needle Darts. For water, Spout. Or wood, Root Reading. You can cast this spell as a primal innate spell at will. The next would be the Planar Migrant background, which also has the rare trait. So in this one, as opposed to something happening and you being infused with elements from the plane, your birthplace was on one of the elemental planes, but you've traveled to the universe for some reason. And remember that the universe is the plane that basically everyone else lives on. Maybe you left on good terms, or maybe you were driven out and hope to one day return. Maybe you were even exiled, and any mention of it brings pain and resentment. In any case, nowhere has quite felt like home since, and you've roamed the land, carrying your life's possessions on your back wherever you go. You adventure possibly in search of a place to belong, or a way to return to your plane of origin and settle unfinished businesses. So with this one, just like all the others, you get to choose 2 attribute boosts. One must be dexterity or constitution, and one is a free attribute boost. You're trained in the athletics skill and one of the following lore skills: plane of air, plane of earth, plane of fire, plane of metal, plane of water, or plane of wood, and you gain the hefty hauler and prescient planner skill feats. Hefty hauler because you're carrying everything you have on your back, and prescient planner so you can pull things out when you need them because you pretty much have everything with you at all times. Now, I hope you like this video on the new backgrounds. There's a lot of interesting things here that could bring a lot of flavor to a kineticist and could really infuse a bunch of kineticist goodness within your character. There's nothing stopping you from taking any other background you see. If an adventure path that you're playing has its own specialty backgrounds, feel free to take one of those, or just take a common one. Take a field hand for all it really matters. But these ones do kind of fit in with the kineticist's whole lore and why you would even want to be a kineticist. You would be obsessed with that particular plane. You'd have a job dealing with the planes, or you'd have a piece of the plane within you, or born in a plane. So all these kind of make sense for why a kineticist would be a kineticist. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, or hit that notification bell for other videos that are coming down the line. But whatever you do, I hope you have a great day and happy adventuring. Thanks.